Our entire book is an incredible divine picture of balance. And this surah is one of the most profound, beautiful, unimaginably perfect examples of balance in the entire Quran. Fatiha is balance that is humanly impossible. Humanly impossible. I'm going to show you some of those things now. What makes this surah balanced? Perfect balance. You know, if you just have praise, then thanks is missing. If you just have thanks, then praise is missing. We should balance between both of those two. What word? Hamd. Hamd itself is a balance. If you just say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, people will take advantage. How do you balance it? Maliki Yawmiddin. You balance it. Now check this out. Let's get more difficult. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin is all about Allah. Yes? Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een is actually about us and Allah. Because part of it is we're doing for Allah, part of it is we're doing for ourselves. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. All of it is for us. Let's go back. The first part of the Fatiha, Allah. The middle part of the Fatiha, between us and Allah. The last part of the Fatiha, pretty much for us. You with me so far? So this is also a kind of balance, isn't it? Between us and Allah. One part for Him, one part for us, one part for both. Yeah? But let's go even a step further. You remember nouns and verbs? Remember those? Some sentences in Arabic are noun sentences. Some sentences in Arabic are verb sentences. Okay? Noun sentences and what? Verb sentences. What is the quality of a noun? It's timeless. What's the quality of a verb? It's temporary. Yeah? The first part was about who? Allah. It's all noun sentences. The whole thing is a noun sentence. The last part, not part 2, part 3. The last part is about who? Us. The whole thing is a verb sentence. The middle sentence is about who? Us and Allah. It's a verb sentence beginning with a noun, so it's a mixture of both. Noun sentence, mixture sentence, and then verb sentence. Now check this out. The noun sentences go to Allah just like Allah is timeless. The verb sentences go to us just like we're temporary. And the one between us and Allah is a combination of both. It's maf'ul bihi muqaddam, putting the ism first even though it's a jumla fi'liya. It's linguistically perfect. Correlating to the subject matter. Who talks like this? Who could do that? Let's go further. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin was all about who again? Allah. And that leads you to a conclusion, which is Iyaka na'budu. So I will say that the conclusion of Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, the conclusion of all of it is Iyaka na'budu. You remember that, right? Now the second half begins. It begins with Iyaka. You ask Him for help. And the rest of it is just what kind of help do you want? So the conclusion of the first part is Iyaka na'budu. And the introduction to the second part is Iyaka nasta'een. Perfect halves. Perfect halves. Let's go further. The Fatiha in the beginning, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin is knowledge. All of it. Now we know who Allah is. Because of these ayat, we have learned what? Knowledge. Yes? And then, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. Right? We have now asked Him for, we are ready to take action. First came knowledge, then we are ready to take action. Yes? In our religion, knowledge and action are pretty important, aren't they? When you learn something, you must act on it. You must continue to learn and continue to act. When we ask for guidance, how many groups of people did we talk about? 3 groups of people. People on the straight path, people that receive anger, and people that are lost. Now go back. I said the first part is knowledge. The second part is action. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ is what? Action. In the third part, you asked to be learn from the people who had both knowledge and action. The people on the straight path must have had what? Knowledge and action. Then you said, Ya Allah, keep me away from the people who have knowledge and don't have action, and keep me away from people who have action but don't have knowledge. The whole thing is a balance between knowledge and action, beginning to end. The whole thing. Now, even further. The balance keeps going in the surah. Even further. When you go back up, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. In this first part, where Allah Azza wa Jalla introduces us to His knowledge, from there, you want to be guided, and it's so personalized because of the word Al-Alameen. Remember that? It's not a samawati wal ard, it's about Allah. Or about ourselves, Al-Alameen. So, who are the population of the world? What are they divided into? Tell me who they are. There's only three kinds. All of Al-Alameen, doesn't matter which culture, which society, which language, which government, doesn't matter. They're only going to fall under three categories. What are they? الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ, الْمَغْضُوبَ عَلَيْهِمْ, and الضَّالِّينَ. When it comes to guidance, that's all the population of the world. People that are looking for inspiration from the past, people that are they know and they don't care, and people that don't care, and they do wrong and they don't want to know. They don't want to know. What's the last surah of the Quran? Nas. The first surah began with something positive. Alhamdulillah. Last surah balances it out. It starts with something negative. قُلْ أَعُوذُ. First surah began Rabbil Alameen. Last surah goes in different language, same concept, Rabbin Nas. And since it's negative, it starts with the negative. You're protecting yourself from something negative. The positives are taken out. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim is taken out. If you take Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim out, what's left? Maliki Yawmiddin. What do you find in Surah An-Nas? Malikin Nas. Here you say, Iyaka na'budu. We want to enslave ourselves to you. When you take Shahada, what do you say? Ashhadu an la ilaha nas. Ilaha nas. Here, you mentioned the positive, الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ, and then you mentioned two negatives. Yes? But Nas is about protecting you from the what? From the negative. So there's not going to be any mention of positives. How many kinds of negatives were on this side? In Fatiha, how many kinds of negatives were there? Two. Al-Maghdub alayhim and Al-Dallin. Min sharri al-waswas al-khannas alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur an-nas min al... Two over there. It's perfectly balanced. Beginning to end. It's almost as though when you study Nas, it makes you understand Fatiha better. It forces you back to the Fatiha. And you know this, the tanasubat of the Quran, how Quran flows, how it continues and continues and continues, is just absolutely breathtaking. I wanted to share some of these things about the Fatiha with you. One thing I didn't get to share, but let me see how much time I have. 6 minutes, I can do it. I think I can do it. We talked about balance, right? This is one of the most powerful examples of balance in the Book of Allah, in my opinion. Allahu A'lam. Human beings have had a few problems since our beginning that we haven't been able to solve. I'll mention a few of them. We've always had a problem between men and women. If you ask men who should have more rights, they will say men. If you ask women who should have more rights, they will say women. And of course, in society and in history and in families, there's always some kind of oppression leaning this way or leaning that way, and leaning this way and leaning that way. There's always been a conflict between men and women. Like in a divorce court, if the judge is a man and he went through a divorce and he's the judge, who's he going to favor when he has a case? The man, he's going to see his wife, ex-wife over there on the other side. He's like, this one's going to jail. If it's a woman, then she might favor who? a woman. I can't help it. I'm a man, so I can only think like a man, and I can only be more sensitive to the needs of a man. And a woman can't help being a woman. She can only think from the perspective of a woman. So if you let the men decide, men will favor men. If you let the women decide, women will favor women. I used to be a teacher at an Islamic school. Half the boys were girls. Half the class was boys. Half the class was girls. Sorry, and so we only have 5 days of school, which means we have recess. And I said, okay, let's do an experiment. The playground, either I only give it to the boys or only give it to the girls. You decide who gets 2 days and who gets 3 days. All the girls said, girls get 3 days. All the boys said, boys get. What a surprise. You can only favor your own side. The first conflict is between men and who? Women. The second conflict is between people with money and people who work for them, capital and labor. The boss and the employee. There's always been a conflict. The boss says, I should pay you less and make you work more. The employee says, you should pay me more and make me work less. The boss says, I want less vacation. The employee says, I want more vacation. Right? There's always been a conflict between money and labor, capital and labor, between men and women. There's always been a conflict between people and governments. Always. Government says you should give us more taxes and give us more control. People say you should charge us less taxes, give us more services, and give us more freedom. People want to be free, governments want control, there's a constant tussle. It's always been there. How many conflicts did I mention so far? Men and women, capital and labor, what else? Government and people. Government and people. There's a social conflict, men and women. There's an economic conflict, capital and labor. There's a political conflict, government and people. There's an internal conflict, body and soul. You have spiritual needs, but you have physical needs. You have this conscience inside you that says this is wrong, but you have temptations inside you that say it's okay, just do it. No big deal. There's greed inside you, but there's also a sense of justice inside you. There's the desire to take what you don't deserve. And then there's this conscious, I should be a good person, I should be a good example. There's an internal conflict inside each human being. Not only is there a war happening between men and women and capital and labor and government and people, there's a war happening inside the human being. If you let the body decide, it'll kill the soul. You let the soul decide, it'll kill the body. Isn't it? Now let's see, who can make the judge? If you let men be the judge, they'll favor men. If you let capital, the people with the money be the judge, they'll favor themselves. If you let labor be the judge, they'll destroy businesses. If you let government be the judge, it'll be dictatorships. If you let people be the judge, it'll be anarchy. You see the problem? If you let the body be the judge, your soul dies. If you let the soul be the judge, your body dies. We have these conflicts that need to be solved, and we cannot find balance. We can't find a judge who will favor men and women equally. Government and labor, government and people equally. Capital and labor equally. Your body and your soul is concerned with both. Where do you find that judge? That's ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Allah has given us the only judge who can do fairness. There's no other judge who can do it. Until you come back to Him, the conflict will continue. There won't be any harmony. Not only is this a balance of language, a balance of theme, a balance of knowledge and action, a balance of our effort and the help of Allah, both of those were balanced together in إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Not only is this a balance in all of those things, it is also a balance in who will be the judge that can actually give balance to the world. Give balance to the world. That's our Fatiha. SubhanAllah.